Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're discussing what's going on at the Reno Police Department with Chris Hicks. He's the Washoe County District Attorney, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Is about to hit a whole nother level during the $100,000 March Mayhem giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Win up to $5,000 in cash every week and a top prize of $15,000 in cash during the grand finale drawing. Don't miss the mayhem. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Some classrooms were violent.
Teachers could even get sued for breaking up fights.
Until Joe Lombardo took charge. Now our classrooms are safer.
And Lombardo demanded the accountability that was desperately needed.
Test scores are up.
Graduation rates are up.
Kids are learning.
And as teachers, we feel appreciated.
Governor Lombardo's policies are making a huge difference. For teachers,
for parents,
and for students. Thank you, Governor Lombardo, for making education a priority.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're delighted to welcome back to the program Chris Hicks. He's the Washoe County District Attorney running for re-election. And before we get into that, we're going to discuss as best we can what's going on at the Reno Police Department and the city of Reno, acknowledging that multiple investigations are underway and no charges or indictments have been issued, and everyone is presumed innocent until found guilty. What I'll be asking the DA about is alleged accusations from multiple credible sources, and he's not involved in this at this time. Okay, so welcome, sir.
Nice to be here.
We have a Reno Police Chief and 5 senior command officers who are on paid leave with no information out there from an official source. Can you comment on the potential offense here? Because this is extraordinary.
It is extraordinary, for sure, and it's at the onset. I'd just like to say it's disappointing that this is going on. I've naturally, because it's in campaign season, I've been out talking to a lot of voters, and this is a topic that is on everybody's minds, and there's a lot of questions out there, rightfully so. I will say, I'm not much more in the loop than anybody else in our community now. When all of this began to break about 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by the city manager just before it became public. And the main point was, as I told her, is like, look, I'm the top law enforcement official in this county. I'm the DA. I need to know what's going on in regard to my ability to do that job. For example, if a major crime happens tonight, who am I talking to? And that's really where my involvement started. But in terms of the overall investigation, the overall accusations, the DA's office is really not involved. So I don't know a ton, but I'm happy to talk about it. I will say, as you know, I work very closely with Sheriff Balaam, and Sheriff Balaam's a lawyer. So I certainly worked with him on his interlocal agreement. that was made in those days leading up to the first formal announcement of what was going on with RPD.
All right, so let's talk about that. The county has provided the undersheriff, which is again an extraordinary thing, and the county resources at a cost of potentially up to $2 million, if approved by the city council today as we're recording this show, at a time when the city is already $24 million underwater. Your thoughts about that?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It is an extraordinary situation, and you have to have leadership. The Reno Police Department is a big entity that does very important work, much of which filters to my office where we do very important work. So it's critical that you have leadership in place to make sure that the system is operating. Yes, that is I expect it will get approved, and that is a healthy price tag. That is going to have to happen. Now, I will say, Sheriff Balaam, I commend him for stepping up. He recognized the regional need. He was willing to lend his undersheriff, who is a highly qualified individual, I know him well, to do this. But there's tremendous downstream effects, as you're alluding to, that is going to hit the city.
All right. In addition to that, there are all kinds of involvement between RPD, your office, and every other law enforcement agency, both local, state, and federal, that goes on. So all that gets affected by this as well.
Yes. I will say, though, a lot of, the Reno Police Department is so big that I'm not concerned about it not being business as usual in terms of investigations being done appropriately and then submitted to the DA's office for justice. But yes, it has effects throughout the community. A lot of our law enforcement agencies, particularly the Sheriff's Office, RPD, SPD, NHP, and some of the feds, as you mentioned, they work together in regional teams. I think that will help with this kind of transition of a leader that wears a green uniform coming in to supervise a bunch of officers that wear blue uniforms. I think that will help alleviate some of that friction. But I have high confidence in Assistant Chief now, Solferino. Acting Chief Solferino.
Right. The alleged offense, according to my sources, is that the chief and 5 members of the command staff skipped out on post certifications, CT certifications, gun range training, and tactical defense training over an extended period of time. This is the annual training that has to be done, as I understand it, for a peace officer to be a peace officer. Am I correct?
You're correct about the post-certification requirements. I really can't comment on, and honestly, I don't know what all the allegations are. But in terms of post-certification, if you're a law enforcement officer, much like lawyers, we have to do continuing legal education every year. They have to do, by statute, certain requirements to maintain their post-certification. And if you don't, that certification could be subjected to cancellation, which in turn would disqualify you as a police officer.
All right. So using that as an example, your office, if you had somebody working for you that didn't do their certification, what would be the ramification there?
Well, the ramifications could be very big. And of course, that's something we're worried about in the district attorney's office. I don't know how deep these allegations go. I'll be really interested to see what comes out of the investigation. But hypothetically, if it were true that a police officer had falsified post-certification requirements, and that was proven, that would become amongst other things, a finding of dishonesty. That's a real problem for the district attorney's office, because when we have professional witnesses, such as law enforcement, that have a sustained finding of a lack of credibility, we have to disclose that to the judge and to the defense, and that's fair game on cross-examination. There's a long line of U.S. Supreme Court case law that requires that kind of disclosure. And as you can imagine, if you have a professional witness who hypothetically had conducted an entire investigation as the lead officer, and then the defense attorney gets to highlight that they have a history of potentially lying or doing something that is not credible or not honest, that could be catastrophic to our cases. Right now, the only individuals I know of that are on leave are high-level Reno Police Department officials, and they typically are not involved in our cases. So I don't see a big implication right now, but certainly monitoring it.
If this were to occur within your office, would firing become an obvious result?
Yes, I hold my employees. I have wonderful employees in my office, excellent attorneys, but I hold them to a very high standard, as does our community. If there was a situation, for example, where one of my deputies was lying about something very significant to their career, termination would definitely be something I would look at.
The Reno Assistant Police Chief, who allegedly signed off on the post-training, resigned from the Nevada Commission of Peace Officers and Training, which is the post, but is still working for the Reno Police Department. Does that strike you as odd?
I know this individual well. I've worked with him for years. And I'm, certainly not jumping to judgment. I don't know what the findings are going to be of this investigation, but I think what he did is he removed himself from the post-certification board because of all the noise that is going on. That's certainly not a requirement to be an officer or an assistant chief in the Reno Police Department. So there could be a bevy of motivations behind that. But again, like you said, I'm really interested to see what the findings end up being.
All right. There's a question of whether he signed off on the post-training or did the police chief, which potentially suggests alleged collusion.
Potentially. I'm not aware of those intricacies of the investigation. But again, if we want to speak in terms of hypotheticals, in my long career of being a prosecutor and doing investigations, you would certainly look to see if there was some kind of a conspiracy going on, collusion, as you say. That's a possibility. So there's so many different ways that this could go, and I think that's a lot of the frustration with the community is there's just not a lot being said. Now, I certainly understand why city officials aren't saying, giving all the information, and
because
there's law. There's specific chapter in the NRS, Chapter 289, that protects police officers. There's very little that can be said during personnel investigations, and so they're abiding by the law. And I'm sure this is frustrating for them too.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back much more with Chris Hicks, the Washoe County District Attorney, after this timeout.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain. And for over 90 years, the Nevada Trucking Association has been the voice for the men and women in the trucking industry. From Carson City to Washington, D.C., we advocate for policies to protect our trucking companies and keep commerce flowing. Because Nevada's and America's prosperity is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games, it's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Washoe County District Attorney Chris Hicks. He's running for re-election, and we're discussing, as best we can, what's going on at the Reno Police Department in the city of Reno, acknowledging that multiple investigations are underway and no charges or indictments have been issued. Everyone is presumed innocent until found guilty. And what I'm going to be asking the DA about is alleged accusations from multiple credible sources, and he is not involved at this time. One of the things that got brought up in my conversations about this was that officers get paid to do the post-training. And if they allegedly didn't do it, are they liable for payroll fraud?
It's a good question. I don't know the exact structure of the Reno Police Department in terms of their policy and procedure on promotions. You know, I'm not their lawyer like I am for the sheriff's office, but I do believe that there is a requirement to have certain trainings to elevate to the next level. And so one could make a plausible argument, again, and speaking in the terms of hypotheticals that we are today, that if somebody lied about certain qualifications that enabled them to be promoted, that in fact that could be some level of theft. I will tell you an interesting story, anecdotally. Just the other day, I was walking neighborhoods and I happened to knock on the door of a retired law enforcement officer out of California. He asked me about the Reno Police Department right out of the gate and shared with me that they had a very similar situation in his agency in California. He alluded to that exact fact that you just brought up, that there was in fact some forgery of their certification requirements, and that officers were elevated to higher positions because of those certifications. And they were actually ultimately prosecuted for theft of county funds. So it's slightly different, but again, speaking in terms of hypotheticals, there is examples out there of where this has happened in other parts of the country. He shared with me that multiple officers were, of course, terminated with an agreement to pay back the funds in exchange for not being prosecuted. That happened with some, but some were prosecuted and actually convicted of felonies. Now, do I know that's going on here? I don't, Sam. But.
Right, and we're trying to make that very clear. You know, what I'm really trying to do is open up the questions that a lot of the media seem to be very nervous about covering. And if we put these questions on the record here, and then people can follow up beyond there and beyond the resources that I have. You know, you were talking about the post-certification in terms of promotion, but you have to have that post-certification just to remain a viable police officer, correct?
Yes, you have to do certain, I think it's 6 enumerated trainings every year. It's, I believe, 10 hours. I read the statute a couple weeks ago that you have to do those to maintain your post-certification. You have to have post-certification to be a police officer. That's a requirement of the job. So in turn, if you're not doing those and you don't get your post-certification, you're no longer qualified or fit the job description to do that job. And the trainings vary. It's from, some have been added by the legislature in the last couple of years, de-escalation techniques, mental health techniques, defensive tactics, firearm training, the kind of things that as a member of the public, you would expect our police officers to make sure that they are qualified to do. Those are all enumerated by statute.
The Attorney General and the Nevada State Police, according to the Reno Gazette-Journal, are investigating in addition to the city. My understanding, too, is that the AG's office has issued a search warrant on a criminal basis, not a civil basis. Can you add anything to that?
Yeah, you know, there are two ways typically to get documents or evidence in the justice system. One is subpoenas, and that's typically in the civil arena. You can do a subpoena for certain documents, a subpoena for a witness. You know, we've all heard of that. Search warrants are different. Search warrants fall within the criminal realm, and the way that those are sought is you go before a judge. An officer does. They have to explain that they have probable cause to believe a crime has been committed, and here are the facts that support that. Sometimes they are done by oral affidavit because it might be a situation where it needs to happen right away with exigent circumstances. But typically they're done by a written affidavit that lays out all the evidence that would support a court issuing a search warrant for evidence in support of those facts. So in this situation, if a search warrant has been obtained, there is likely a affidavit out there in support of it. Now, there are circumstances in which law enforcement can seal affidavits, but ultimately they do have to be disclosed. So those are kind of the circumstances where something like this could happen.
Potentially, could they have violated city and state rules? And what would be the ramifications for somebody allegedly doing this?
Well, I know the city, first and foremost, has policies of code of conduct, certain expectations that every employee, especially police officers, have to live up to. So if some of these facts are true, I would imagine that would certainly be a violation of policy. Then you get into the post-certification requirements. If these facts bore out to be true, that would be a violation of that. Now, in terms of potential criminal charges, it's really hard for me to speculate. I just don't know enough. But hearkening back to that example of the individual I talked to just the other day, there are situations where you could see it rising to the level of some kind of fraud or theft under our criminal statutes. That's all possible.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be back with the Washoe County DA after this timeout.
The road to riches leads straight to the Carson Valley Inn. Cash drawings Thursday and Saturdays. Over 480 winners. Score up to $15,000 weekly. Plus one $10,000 cash winner in the $20,000 guaranteed grand prize giveaways. Free meals, free play, and more. Only at the Carson Valley Inn.
2025 is bringing big changes for Nevada businesses. If you have more than 5 employees and have been operating for 3 years or more, you must now comply with new state retirement plan mandates. The Vegas Chamber 401k plan makes it easy, offering a proven, customizable, and cost-effective plan for employers and employees to save with tax advantages. Visit vegaschamber.com to explore options and see how the Vegas Chamber can help you start saving for your future.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Chris Hicks. He's the Washoe County District Attorney running for re-election. We're discussing as best we can what's going on at the Reno Police Department and the City of Reno, acknowledging that multiple investigations are underway and no charges or indictments have been issued. Everyone is presumed innocent until found guilty. And what I'm asking the DA about is alleged accusations from multiple credible sources, and he is not involved in this at this time. How long do you think potentially this investigation could go on? Because as we said in the first segment, the potential cost here for the city of Reno, that's already $24 million in debt, is an additional $2 million and could go well beyond that.
Well, you look at the facts that we know. I believe it's 6 individuals, might be 5. Forgive me if I'm off there.
I think it's 5 command staff and then the chief.
So 6 individuals, each of which is entitled to a full investigation. I think if this is an allegation of going back in time, of perhaps not doing certain post-certifications, again, I don't know. But I would suspect that type of investigation is going to take a great deal of time. Then there's findings, then there's certain rights that employees are allowed to exert. So I don't think it's unrealistic at all to see this going until the end of the year. And then where it goes from there, I don't know. I've heard lots of people talk about this being a segue to consolidation. of all the police, all the agencies. Who knows what ends up happening from this? It's all going to be very interesting to see it play out.
And I will say that Mayor Lawson, if he remains mayor because he's up for re-election, would be very much against the idea of consolidation. And by the way, this is the worst kept secret with all kinds of leaks. I mean, I can't begin to tell you, as I've been making phone calls, more people have been calling me than I've been able to reach out. Liability issues for any cases that these officers worked on, because they're command staff, would that lower the liability issue because they wouldn't actually be working on the specific cases to where somebody could say, you didn't have the post certification, therefore your investigation was invalid?
Well, there's, as a lawyer, you could sit here and come up with hundreds of examples of potential liability situations. I've certainly thought about some of them. But one,
can you give me a for example?
Yeah, I'll give you a hypothetical again. We don't know how deep this runs, but let's just say, for the purposes of my hypothetical, an officer claimed that they received training in de-escalation tactics and mental health awareness, and in fact they didn't. And then they encountered somebody in a mental health crisis and didn't, perhaps utilize the skills they would have learned in that training, and something bad happened to that person. That could immediately lend itself potentially to liability, or to at least a claim of some kind of civil damages. And again, now I could give you countless examples, but I guess the point I'm making, those trainings are in place for a reason. And if those trainings don't occur, and then something negatively or adversely occurs that is a product of a lack of that training, that could be a real problem.
Well, that's where we have to leave it for now. We will welcome you back to talk about your campaign, because that was initially what we were going to talk about, but we'll do that in a couple of weeks. So we'll welcome you back then. But thank you for this, and thank you for being the only major official to actually publicly comment in any way on this situation, and we appreciate it.
I thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back. And the last thing I would just want to say is I feel for everybody in this. I feel for the people that are charged, the city officials, the department in general, and the community. And we all deserve answers. And so I think it's really important to watch how this plays out.
And thank you, sir. And we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Ahern Boutique Hotel, where luxury and warmth come together in the heart of Las Vegas.
We take pride in offering a one-of-a-kind experience for both locals and tourists.
Join us for handcrafted cocktails and an unforgettable experience.
Joel's Chop House, the perfect place to savor views of the Las Vegas Strip.
Satisfy your cravings at the Ahern Chocolate Shop.
No smoking, no resort fees, and the parking is always free. The Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel is your home away from home.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast.